Thank you. Good evening, students. How are you doing today? Good to see students over here joining in well before time. There were a few students who had joined even 10 to 15 minutes earlier. Excellent. So we were discussing this topic on exemptions. Exemptions under GST is a lengthier topic because a lot of exemptions has to be covered. When we take up problems in the next class, probably the time you'll see that whatever we are learning now, if we remember that, then there are so much confusions which will come up. So it is better that we understand this exemptions in detail. And so that even if we forget, then we will, at least by application or at least by practical examples, we'll get to know what has to be done. Because it is not necessary for you to remember the exact exemption number or the para number of the exemption notification. There's only one exemption notification under which all this exemption of services comes in, but you don't have to remember the exemption para number. Okay, there's so many exemptions, close to 100 plus exemptions, but actually you don't have to remember the exact exemption number. Okay, but if you understand whether exemption is available, why it is available, if it is not available, why so, then you can include that. Okay, 1 minute. Okay. Vidya Anbu, is my voice audible now? So we're discussing on exemptions, exemptions of various services we have seen. We have seen till educational services. Now we will see about healthcare services. Okay, we know when we go to a doctor, we go to a hospital, or we go to any laboratory for testing our blood tests or any test which we do, they don't charge us GST. Right? Why so? Because of this exemption. There is an exemption on healthcare services. Notes are not yet available. Okay, notes will be made available because I wanted to discuss this chapter and then upload the notes. That's the reason notes have not yet updated. It will be updated today itself and you will be able to see it tomorrow. Okay. So healthcare services, what is covered in healthcare services? Firstly, services by way of healthcare service. They have said healthcare service. Now, what is a healthcare service itself? We have to understand. Firstly, services by way of healthcare service by clinical establishment or authorized medical practitioner or paramedics. Okay, these three people, if they are providing healthcare services, it is exempted. Now, what is healthcare service? Healthcare services means any service by way of, okay, healthcare service means any service by way of diagnostic. So they've said service. Basically, healthcare goods, like we have healthcare goods. Now, will that be covered under this? That will be covered under goods classification. Now we have to go and see under the goods notification whether they are exempted or no. But all healthcare services is what is covered here, which will become exempted. Okay. Healthcare service means any service by way of diagnostic, treatment in care of, diagnostic or treatment or care of illness, injury, deformity, abnormality or pregnancy. Okay, so diagnostic means any diagnosis what to do. So if you have some illness, you will go to a doctor, but if you foresee that something will happen, even then you go for just checking up a diagnosis of the body, saying that I have a mild fever. Now I want to go to a doctor. So he will diagnose the whole body and he will do a treatment. If you are ill, if you are unwell, if you met with accident, then there'll be some treatment which will be taken care of, or any care of illness. Illness means any kind of sickness what you fall. If you have met with the accident, then any injury, or deformity means any kind of damage which has happened to your body. Abnormality. Okay. So normal body functions in particular way. If it functions abnormally, okay, like you didn't get sleep, you had too much at your friend's function and your stomach is not normal. Okay. like how we see normally. You in this Three Idiots, those three people, three actors go to someone's wedding, and then too much of eating, stomach gets upset, so abnormalcy or any kind of pregnancy in any recognized system of medicine. So, firstly, very simple example, same simple exemption. It is not very tough. Okay, I'm not able to see the screen. Let me expand it, but if I expand it, okay. Now I think it's clear. Healthcare service means any service by way of diagnostic, treatment, or care of illness, injury, deformity, abnormality, or pregnancy in any recognized system of medicine. Now, what system of medicine is permitted? Only when I go to a doctor, he studied MBBS, only his services are exempted? No, it includes other services also. Recognized system of medicine, that is allopathy. Who studies MBBS gets a degree, that is called allopathy. Then who gives the treatment through yoga treatment, they are also covered. Then through naturopathy, that is also covered. Who go for treatment of Ayurvedic treatment, that is also covered. Homeopathy, Siddha, and Unani. So basically, all kinds of treatments through all ancient traditional method as well as modern method are covered. Allopathy, yoga, naturopathy, Ayurveda, homeopathy, Siddha, Unani. These are all Indian traditional system. Reiki, acupressure, Chinese medicines, some kind of medicines you get. So all of that is not recognized. So only the traditional methods and the MBBS method, allopathy, yoga, naturopathy, Ayurveda, homeopathy, Siddha, and Unani, these are the healthcare services. So these services is covered. Then it says diagnostic, treatment, or care. Everything is covered. Then transportation of patients to and from clinical establishment. So if a patient is unwell, so it is transported to a hospital through an emergency ambulance. Then after he's treated, he's done well. Then from the hospital, he goes back to his home. That is also sometimes through an ambulance. So any transportation of patient to and from clinical establishment, that is also covered under healthcare service. But it does not include. Okay, so now we know what is healthcare services. Basically, any kind of diagnostic, illness, treatment, abnormality, whatever problems I have for which I go to a doctor, all of that is covered under healthcare service. Transportation of patients, that is also covered. Transportation of patients, and but it does not include any hair transplant, cosmetic or plastic surgery, or for beautification or restoration or restrictive anatomy functions of the body. Now, it does not include hair transplant, cosmetic, and plastic surgery. Hair transplant, that my hairs are not growing, I'm doing a hair transplant, that is not covered because that is not a medical problem, that is a cosmetic problem. So, you don't like a bald hair and you have got a treatment done. Okay, so you have done a treatment, that's a cosmetic thing. Even if you don't have hairs, you're still recognized. ठीक है, आपके टकले होने का मतलब आपने कुछ ट्रांसप्लांट कर दिया तो ये मेडिकल हेल्थ केयर में नहीं माना जाएगा. ठीक है, और कॉस्मेटिक और प्लास्टिक सर्जरी, जब आपकी प्लास्टिक सर्जरी कर दी है तो वो भी हेल्थ केयर में माना नहीं जाएगा. उसके दो डिवीजन है. वन इज ब्यूटिफिकेशन, अगर आपको कुछ प्रॉब्लम नहीं है, बस आपको आपको नाक के शेप पसंद नहीं है, आप उसको चेंज करना चाहते हो, तो इसलिए आपने प्लास्टिक सर्जरी करवा दिया है, देन दैट इज टैक्सेबल. दैट इज नॉट कवर्ड अंडर हेल्थ केयर सर्विस. Then what is covered? Restoration, restrictive anatomy functions of the body because of defects, abnormality, injury, or trauma is exempt. जैसे बचपन में ही somebody has born with a chirped lips or some accident has happened and his shape has changed and he wants to bring it to a normal, not make it beautification, but bring it to a normal position. Okay, so for restoration of any defects, abnormality, injury, or trauma, then that is covered under healthcare service. Okay, so that is the healthcare service. Now, what is this? We understood this part, healthcare service. We understood this meaning of healthcare service. Now, healthcare service, whom it could be provided by? It could be provided by a clinical establishment or a authorized medical practitioner or a paramedics. Now, healthcare service by clinical establishment means what? It could be provided either by a hospital, if not a hospital, nursing home, smaller hospitals or smaller places where some treatment is taking care, nursing homes or laboratories. So laboratories which do diagnostic or investigation, they are also covered. So when you go to a doctor, they give a prescription saying that you have to get this test done. So that is when we go and give the test. They are not hospitals, but they are clinical establishments. They are labs. So that labs also are covered under the definition of clinical establishment. So hospitals, nursing homes, labs, all of this are covered under clinical establishment. Then so hospitals जो provide करती है that is exempt. Then authorized medical practitioners means doctors. Doctors, what services they provide, that is also covered. Now, doctors provided through hospital or directly to their clinic also we go. Everything is exempted itself because even if they provide to hospital and hospital bills to us, still it is serviced by a authorized medical practitioner. Still that is exempted. Both are exempted. Authorized, the doctor providing service to the hospital and hospital providing service to us, both are exempted. Required individual doctors which are registered with any council of recognized system of medicine. जैसे those recognized system we discussed, Unani, allopathy, Ayurveda, yoga, if they are registered under any of those council, like Siddha is one council for all of that yoga and traditional practices, Ayurveda, yoga and all. And for allopathy, you have a separate Indian Medical Council. So if they're registered with any of those council, then they are treated as authorized medical practitioners. There could be some medical practitioners who are not registered under them, then they will not be treated as registered, then such services will be taxable. Okay, medical professional having requisite qualification, they should be registered and having their requisite basic qualification. Then paramedics are not doctors, but they are trained healthcare professionals, okay, which assist clinical establishments and authorized medical practitioners. Who are they? They are like when we go to hospital, we have nursing staff. So these nursing staff, physiotherapists, and the technicians, lab technicians, hospital technicians, they are also exempted because they are covered under the definition of paramedics. They're not completely medical professionals, but they are paramedics, but they are having the sufficient knowledge and experience in helping the main doctor. Okay, so when a doctor is there, the nurses around will be there. Even in an operation theater, they will be positioned to access whatever a doctor can access. A physiotherapist takes care when you have an accident or some kind of a malfunctioning of your limbs. They will help you to do the movement of it. So they are physiotherapists, and lab technicians and other technicians are all covered under the definition of technicians. So healthcare service by clinical establishment, authorized medical practitioner, and paramedics are covered. Okay. Siddha means it's a type of a treatment, Pranav, wherein instead of medicines, they use alternative treatment, like how Ayurveda is there, something similar to Ayurveda, but they don't use whatever Ayurvedic product use. It's a kind of in between position of a Ayurveda and a English medicine. Transportation of patient includes only ambulance service like 108 or any kind of private transportation. They have said, see, if it's a private transportation, also it should be get covered. But if it's private medicine transportation, they wouldn't charge anything, right? So if it's a cab services and things like that, then it can get covered unless it is specifically mentioned that it is for this service. But generally, they are all covered under a different category, wherein you cannot tell them it is ambulance, it's for transportation to hospital, so you don't charge me tax. That's not possible. So mainly it covers ambulance service itself, but theoretically transportation of patients is what they've said, not only through ambulance. So any kind of transportation of patients will be exempted. What about plastic surgery of any acid attack victim? So if it's an acid attack victim, then it's an accident which has happened and he's undergoing a surgery and bringing it back, then it will be treated under exempt itself. Is canteen inside a hospital exempted? Canteen inside a hospital. Now, hospital, we will get into that, but I will answer here itself. So we have hospital which is exempted. In hospital, before going into canteen, we have a pharmacy also. Pharmacy is directly linked to the hospital. So if hospital is exempted, then will the pharmacy be exempted? Generally, when I go and buy some medicines, will it be treated as exempted? General medical shops, when I go, it is not exempted. So all medicines are taxable, except very few, or I think almost all medicines are taxable. At least basic 5% will be chargeable there. So medicines are taxable at 5%. So if this medicine is outside or within the hospital, it will be taxable. Now, if this medicine service is included in the bill of the hospital bill itself, and the medical person is providing to the hospital, then hospital will not charge separate GST on it. Okay, so when there are two types of arrangements. First of all, when I go to a hospital, I can get the medicines myself. The doctor will write the prescription. I have to go buy the medicine and give it to them. As and when it's yet completed, I will have to bring that back. Okay, either that if I do, still it is taxable. Second is pharmacy has a direct connection with the hospital. Hospital will say, okay, I will write this, and the pharmacy will give it to me. You have to pay me. I will pay to the pharmacy directly. So in that case, pharmacy will give a taxable bill to the hospital. Hospital will not charge GST again on that because it's a composite supply then, because the main supply is hospital treatment and things like that, and the medicine is an subsidiary part of it. So it will charge me a composite supply thing, and it will not charge me any GST in there. Similarly, now go to a situation of canteen. Now canteen, if they are providing food to general public, then it's like a normal hotel. GST at 5% has to be charged. Now hospital as a tie-up with canteen, and they're saying that in whatever bill we charge, in that food is also included. You don't have to pay separately for that. So generally, whom will the provide the food? They will provide food for the patients only. So if they are providing any food for the patients, patient is not coming there for food. He's coming for his treatment, and the hospital ancillary is providing this food. So the canteen person will charge GST to the hospital. Hospital will not charge anything to me. Okay, so canteen services per se is taxable. Canteen services, when the food is included in the hospital bill, it will not be taxable. Clear, Yatiraj? If plastic surgery is mandatory to do, there's nothing called mandatory. If the doctor suggests that it is to be done, it is to be done. If it is not, and it is ultimately up to the patient. Nothing is compulsory that you have to get a plastic surgery done. Only if such plastic surgery results in any kind of beautification, then it will be taxable. Otherwise, other thing which brings defects, if there's so many defects, abnormality, then it will be exempted. Doctor's personal clinic is also covered. Yes, his personal clinic is also covered, and it will be exempted. Services provided by psychologist is not exempted. That is also exempted because that is a mental health. So healthcare means any physical health or mental health. So both are covered here. Sir, why composition 1% shop are not claiming ITC? Because under composition, that's the scheme Muhammad Abid. The composition scheme is in such a way that when they're charging concessional rate, otherwise the normal rate would have been 5% and 18%. So instead of that, they're giving you a lower rate. So both benefit you will not get. You'll get lower rate also and no tax, no input tax. That is, and you want input tax also not possible. So lower rate and no input tax. So for exemption, is it compulsion that doctor or healthcare professional must be a registered practitioner? Yes. Yes, it is compulsory that the doctor or healthcare must be a registered practitioner. If it is not registered, then you will not have a control. Like a chartered accountant, will you call a non-qualified chartered accountant as a chartered accountant? No, because there is a degree which is given. Similarly, all medical professionals also, they have to get a degree. Then only they will get the exemption. सर मेडिसिन के एमआरपी के ऊपर भी जीएसटी लगाएगा क्या? नहीं, एमआरपी का मतलब ही है मैक्सिमम रिटेल प्राइस विच इज इंक्लूसिव ऑफ टैक्सेस. सो एमआरपी के ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं लगाएंगे, एमआरपी में जीएसटी इंक्लूड होगा. जब वो जमा करेंगे तो एमआरपी प्रोडक्ट्स पे वर्क पैक करके रिवर्स उल्टा कैलकुलेशन करके अभी 100 रुपीज पे पेज कर रहे हैं, तो ग्रॉस अप करके 100 डिवाइडेड बाई 105 इंटू 5 जो वैल्यू आएगा दैट दे विल पे टू द गवर्नमेंट. Food supplied to patient by the hospital, food supplied to patient by the hospital is exempt. Food supplied by the canteen is taxable. Homeopathic medicine shop, still that is a medical shop itself. Medical shop को exemption नहीं है. Medical shop will be taxable itself. अगर कोई नर्स क्लिनिक बोल के बैठ जाए तो, नर्स अगर क्लिनिक खोल के बैठ जाए तो देन दैट इज पैरामेडिक्स. पैरामेडिक्स लोग रजिस्टर्ड नहीं है, दे कैन नॉट do the doctor services, so they should not be doing it. But if they are doing, it will still be exempted in my view, because they have mentioned that healthcare service by any of these persons is exempted. Okay, but that will be illegal because paramedics are not permitted to do any of these clinical services. They can only assist the main doctor. जैसे ऑडिटर बोल के फर्म खोल देते हैं, कैन दे साइन एज अ चार्टर्ड अकाउंटेंट? नहीं, वो लोग इनकम टैक्स फाइल कर सकते हैं, दूसरा काम कर सकते हैं, विच डज नॉट इन्वॉल्व द सर्टिफिकेशन. Okay, but they cannot do what a chartered accountant can do. Similarly, paramedics can assist the main doctor, they cannot do the main doctor service itself. Is hearing aid machine exempt from tax? No, hearing aid machine is taxable. So all these healthcare services, machineries, and apparatus is all taxable itself. Food supply by the hospital to the patient, to the attendant of patient, will it be exempted? No. Attendant of patient को taxable लगेगा. We'll see that circular. But when the food is supplied to the patient, the doctor provides service to whom? To the patient only. So if the attendant comes and the hospital provides food to him also and collects some additional charges, that will be taxable. But I've seen many shopkeepers charge GST upon MRP of medicines. That is incorrect. That is definitely incorrect. The shopkeeper cannot charge GST on the MRP. Generally, what they'll do is mention the MRP price and they will split it, then saying this is the value and this is the GST. I've not seen any case where on the MRP again tax is charged. Please check. हॉस्पिटल में एडमिट होने पे जो बिल बनता है उसके ऊपर जीएसटी लगेगा? नहीं लगेगा, क्योंकि हॉस्पिटल में हम स्टे कर रहे हैं, नॉट फॉर होटल में जैसे स्टे कर रहे हैं या लॉज में स्टे करते हैं वैसे स्टे नहीं है. स्टे इसलिए कर रहे हैं क्या? क्योंकि हमें कुछ ट्रीटमेंट मिल जाए, तो जो हेल्थ केयर सर्विस है वो एग्जेम्प्टेड है. तो जो भी हम वहां पे स्टे कर रहे हैं वो हेल्थ केयर के लिए ही स्टे कर रहे हैं, तो दैट विल नॉट बी टैक्सेबल, वो एग्जेम्प्टेड ही रहेगा. जस्ट लाइक आर्टिकलशिप, हमारे सीए आर्टिकलशिप जैसे होता है, डॉक्टर्स ऑल्सो हैव इंटर्नशिप बिफोर गेटिंग द डिग्री सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड बाय देम. तो आर दे एग्जाम्ड और टैक्सेबल? तो उसके लिए उनको स्टाइपेंड मिलता है. स्टाइपेंड इज इन द नेचर ऑफ सैलरी, तो सैलरी के ऊपर जीएसटी तो नहीं है. सो ऑन आर्टिकलशिप पेमेंट व्हाट दे गेट, दैट इज ऑल्सो नॉट टैक्सेबल, नॉट बिकॉज ऑफ हेल्थ केयर, बिकॉज ऑफ शेड्यूल 3. Okay. Like in Karnataka, you've seen that some people are not qualified, but they open their own thing and will they are providing healthcare services. See, they may not be providing proper healthcare services, but other services. Now they're not exempted under healthcare services because not qualified professional, but they may not be charging GST because they have the threshold limit. So they may be taking a shelter under a exemption limit, saying that their service providing value is less than that. But if they are providing more than that, then they are liable to GST. In Anganwadi, nurses also provide various services on their own, not permitted, but still because of the system, if they are providing, then it is exempted in my view. Eye surgery of a blind person, will it be exempted? Yes, it will be exempted because it's not a cosmetic treatment. What about import or export of patients? Transport of patient through plane to another country for medical procedure. So then it will be taxable because you're not going to the hospital directly. You're going to the place, then you're staying over there, then you're going to the hospital. So it will be a kind of not, it's not a transportation of patient. This is a travel of a patient. They have specifically used transportation of patient. I'll read out the exemption, what it says clearly. Services provided by way of transportation of patient in an ambulance. So they specifically said transportation of provided by way of transportation of patient in an ambulance. So they specifically said in an ambulance. So other airplane services, you go from one place to another, all of that will be taxable. It will not be exempted. So specifically they've said transportation in an ambulance. Eye surgery of an old person to restore an eyesight, that is also part of healthcare service, exempted here. Special rooms in hospitals. So you have normal rooms, deluxe rooms, special rooms, everything is exempted itself. Dental services, yes, dental service also are exempted. So special rooms, there are some GST which is levied now, not relevant for exam. So they've set up a tariff saying that if it is above some limit, then slowly they are levying charges on that because you're paying more thing and it's a special room. So it will be taxable now. But for our exam purposes, special rooms are also exempted because the amendment just came recently, which is not relevant for your exam. Plastic surgery for doing illegal activities. It is all in the nature of cosmetic thing, so that will be taxable. Artificial insemination clinic, that will be taxable or exempt. That is kind of a healthcare service itself. That some kind of a defect is there, and that's why they're doing this artificial insemination. That will be exempted. Air ambulance taxable? Yes, air ambulance will be taxable. Service provided by hospitals are, they've just said ambulance, so I assume it's a normal ambulance. Air ambulance may be taxable. 5 नवंबर को आपकी क्लास नहीं है, 5th को नहीं है. नेक्स्ट क्लास होगी 3rd को, 5th को नहीं है. ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑन एयर एम्बुलेंस. एयर एम्बुलेंस का इन्होंने स्पेसिफिक क्लैरिफिकेशन नहीं दिया है. दे हैव सेड दैट सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड बाय वे ऑफ transportation of patients in an ambulance other than those specified. So ambulance दिया है तो it's a normal ambulance. Air ambulance, I don't think it will get covered there. Dental problem exempted, heart dental problem exempted here. Actually at hospital they will display some ads. हाँ, तो हॉस्पिटल में एड्स डिस्प्ले करते हैं फॉर काइंड ऑफ एनी काइंड ऑफ अदर सर्विसेज, जैसे स्टेम सेल ट्रीटमेंट हो गया, दे डिस्प्ले एड्स. तो ये एड्स टैक्सेबल या एग्जेम्प्टेड. ये एड्स के लिए इफ द हॉस्पिटल कलेक्ट्स सम चार्जेस, ओके, देन इट इज नॉट अ हेल्थ केयर सर्विस. उसके लिए उनको जीएसटी पे करना पड़ेगा. तो हॉस्पिटल, मेन हॉस्पिटल के अलावा भी दूसरे सर्विस प्रोवाइड करते हैं, जैसे पार्किंग लॉट चार्जेस होते हैं. पार्किंग चार्जेस जो कलेक्ट करते हैं वो टैक्सेबल हो जाएगा. रेंटल के ऊपर जो प्रीमाइसेस में थोड़े शॉप्स रहते हैं which they give off, or they give it for canteen services also, that will all taxable. Or they allow some display boards to be placed, that is also taxable because that is not a main healthcare service. So two conditions. We have not said that all services will be exempted. Healthcare service only are exempted. Healthcare services providing the basic diagnosis, treatment, or care, and it should be provided by a clinical establishment. Only then it is exempted. Now clinical establishment तो है, लेकिन healthcare service नहीं है. जैसे all this advertisement, rent, so that will be taxable. Visitation fees by certain expense for treatment of patient. Yes, that's a expert. They are medical practitioners. So any medical practitioner visit fees also is exempted itself. Okay, there is a illustration which is given in your material. Healthcare service includes services by way of transportation of patient to and fro from a clinical establishment. Thus, air ambulance service to transport critically ill patients to good health medical center would be eligible for exemption. So that has been clarified. Thank you. Thank you very much, Gomati Krishnan. So healthcare services, air ambulance is also exempted. Ambulance includes air ambulance. Thank you for the clarification. Can a doctor advertise himself? जैसे हमारा कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट होता है, वैसे भी डॉक्टर्स का कोड ऑफ कंडक्ट होता है. They cannot advertise themselves. They are the hospitals which advertise. So generally, the doctors are not. I'm not very sure on their ethics, but it should be similar to other professionals. A doctor cannot advertise himself. Pulse oximeter. Pulse oximeter is a instrument, not a service. So instrument का आपको GST rate में देखना पड़ेगा whether it is exempted or no. Okay. So services by way of healthcare, then services by way of ambulance, fine. Then services by veterinary clinic. जैसे हमने हेल्थ केयर सर्विस इंसानों का बात कर दिया, फॉर एनिमल्स ऑल्सो यू हैव अ वेटरनरी क्लिनिक इन रिलेशन टू हेल्थ केयर ऑफ एनिमल्स एंड बर्ड्स, दैट इज ऑल्सो एग्जेम्प्टेड. ओके, नो एग्जेम्पशन. मैंने क्या लिखा है यहाँ पे? नो एग्जेम्पशन फॉर सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड टू अ क्लिनिकल एस्टेब्लिशमेंट. What we are talking now is services provided by a clinical establishment, which is which is exempted, but services provided to a clinical establishment, a chartered accountant providing services to a healthcare, to a hospital, a landlord charging his rent to a hospital. लैंड पूरा ये हॉस्पिटल के लिए यूज कर रहे हैं, बट स्टिल इट इज taxable because there is no exemption for services provided to a clinical establishment. Whatever services clinical establishment takes, it will be taxable. To that extent, it will add up to its cost. Then operator of biomedical waste treatment facility. जैसे हम डॉक्टर के पास जाते हैं, वो कॉटन सिरिंज वगैरह, they cannot just throw it on the dustbin like that and put it in the garbage. There is a special method of disposing because it gets contaminated or the metals get pierced into the people who are picking it up. That's why they cannot throw it in the garbage. They have to put it in separate colored bins, and there will be a waste management treatment facility provider who takes it and dispose it according to the standards. So that operator of biomedical waste treatment is also exempted. Then we have this blood banks, okay, which were exempted. Now it is all taxable. But for your exams, there is no amendment. Why I'm saying this is because whatever is the amendment, okay, which is given, is mentioned separately, that I will take up in the end. There you will see that all these exemptions are as it is, and nothing is changed except for government services. Just a moment. So this will not apply for you because blood bank services and all have been updated. So you will have a update version. So in that you will see whether these are applicable to you or no. But in the supplementary material, this has not been given. So it will still be treated that all these blood bank services are exempted itself. Core blood bank, what do? Core blood bank, they provide this service of storage of your blood cells. Okay, so when some child is born, you have this umbilical cord which contains the blood, which will be helpful in the future when the child is suffering from any critical illness. Okay, so there are blood banks, cord blood banks, called as cord blood banks, which take this cord and store it, and they give it to the patient when a doctor requires it. So that preservation of stem cells and ancillary services in relation to preservation means storage, refrigeration, all the services what is provided by the cord blood banks, all of that is exempted. Okay. So this is the healthcare services which we exempted here. Room rent above 5,000 to patient is taxable. For your exams, it is still exempted. So wait and watch whether you will get a statutory update. So as of now, that has not been given. So once you get a statutory update, there you'll get to know whether those services will be taxable or no. But as of now, it is all exempted. If hospital has premises that it is let out on rent, is it taxable? Yes, like ATM inside hospitals, whatever services they do other than healthcare services. Now rental they give to ATMs, then that is taxable. Or say any kind of Pizza Hut inside office hospital premises, that is also taxable. Is it taxable in the hands of hospital? Yes, because it is collecting rent from them. No. So whatever income it has, that is taxable in the hands of the hospital. Cord blood bank is in which page? Cord blood bank. Healthcare services in page number 4.100. Stem cells preservation by cord blood banks or any other services in relation to such preservation. Please refer page number 100, you will get it. 4.100. Also in page number 35, entry number 73, services provided by cord blood banks by way of preservation of stem cells or any other service in relation to such preservation. Entry number 73. 4.40. Okay, in some books it is 4.40. Please check that. In my book, it is in page number 4.35. Biomedical waste treatment. This is entry number 75, which is in your page number. Entry number 75, page number 97. Okay. So healthcare service, what else is there? This is very simple, no confusions here. But there are some circulars which give some clarifications. We'll go to these. रूम रेंट टू इन पेशेंट्स. सो रूम रेंट टू इन पेशेंट्स मतलब जो पेशेंट्स है फॉर देयर स्टे whatever room rent is charged, that is exempted because that is similar to the nature of our bundled service. And what is the main service is healthcare services, and room is being provided and rent is charged for that. So room rents are exempted because main service is exempted. So any ancillary service that will also be exempted. Okay. Then senior consultants or senior doctors provide services to hospitals, and hospitals bills to you. So can you say that hospital is not providing any healthcare service? A hospital is not directly providing any healthcare services, but it is engaged doctors and consultants. And these consultants don't bill to us, they bill it to the hospital. Hospital pays them, or it could be on a salary basis also. But the hospital charges me for their time. Still, it is exempted because it is basically healthcare service, and either the doctor provides to me or that provides to a hospital. It is same for me because if you go to a hospital and stay there, You will not pay any fees to the doctor. You will pay to the hospital, and hospital engages them as a consultant and pays to these doctors, right? So senior doctors, consultants payment to hospitals is also exempt. Okay. Now, amount charged by hospitals, including retention money and fees to doctors. Okay, where the amount is charged by hospitals and it includes the retention money or fees to doctors. Okay, so that is also exempted. Food to inpatients I said is exempted, but outside caterer providing to hospital, because this is services provided to hospital, it is taxable. Canteen providing to patient is also taxable. Food to unadmitted patients also is taxable. Somebody asked me this question. So food to unadmitted patients, attendees of the patients or visitors of the patients, that is all taxable. Food to visitors or attendees are also taxable. Any services other than healthcare, right? Renting of shops, auditorium, or display of advertisement, all of this is taxable. Here, so all these questions you have asked before itself. Sir, if there is ATM inside hospital premises, is it taxable under forward charge under hands of bank as it is a service provider? No. ATM is a place where who is the service provider? The hospital is providing services. So it is not a service recipient. Hospital is a service provider. So hospital will charge GST on that, not the ATM or the bank person, because bank is not providing service to me. I am providing service to the bank of giving them a place, right, for which I have to collect charges. They will not collect any charges from me. So I am hospital, I am providing the service, and the service receiver is the bank who has installed their ATM. Clear, Ramchandra? Is it important to remember entry number? No, Kanakarini, it is not important to remember the exemption numbers. If we send samples abroad for testing, we are importing such service. Is it taxable? We are sending samples abroad for testing, and they're doing the testing and giving you the report. So it becomes an import of service. Import of service is taxable, but this is a healthcare service again, diagnostic. So on that, GST will not come. Very good question. So healthcare services provided in anywhere, either in India or outside India, it is exempted itself. Here. Blood transfusion, yes, it is also part of healthcare, so it is exempted itself. सर्कुलर में 5 नंबर पे क्या लिखा है? ये फिफ्थ वाला, आउटसाइड केटरर टू हॉस्पिटल. सो आउटसाइड केटरिंग कंपनी जो है, होटल जो है या केटरिंग वाला है, वो आके सिर्फ खाना देता है यहाँ पे हॉस्पिटल को. सो उसका मतलब क्या हो गया? ये सर्विस हॉस्पिटल को प्रोवाइड कर रहा है और हॉस्पिटल पेशेंट्स को वो फूड देगी. तो वो पेशेंट्स को फूड देगी, वो एग्जेम्प्टेड है. तो फिर ये केटरिंग का कैसे एग्जेम्प्टेड नहीं हो सकता है? वो एग्जेम्प्टेड नहीं है क्योंकि वो सर्विस हॉस्पिटल को दे रहा है. वो उसके ऊपर जो है एग्जेम्पशन नहीं है कि आप अगर कुछ सर्विस हॉस्पिटल को देते हो तो एग्जेम्प्ट रहेगा, ऐसा कहीं पे कोई नहीं लिखा है. तो हॉस्पिटल को जो ये सर्विस प्रोवाइड करता है वो टैक्सेबल रहता है. इसलिए यहाँ पे कहा है आउटसाइड केटरर टू हॉस्पिटल इज टैक्सेबल. Illustration 2.3 saying air ambulance is exempted is always exempt or only in case of emergency? All cases. So air ambulance only by the nature itself, it will not use it as a normal thing. तो आपको यहाँ से आपको कुछ फंक्शन जाना, आप air ambulance use करोगे. You will not use a air ambulance for anything else, right? So if it's a normal case, you will use a normal ambulance. But if it's really emergency, only in that case you will use an air ambulance. By the nature itself, it is by an emergency. But say you normally use it for transportation of a patient to the hospital, still it is exempt because you're using the air ambulance for transportation of a passenger from wherever they are to the hospital. Okay. Medical insurance for health service. Very good, Parthasarthi. So healthcare service is exempted. Will medical insurance, I'm also taking it for a healthcare only. No, will it be taxable? What do you think? Is it covered under healthcare service? It is not covered under healthcare service. Even if you don't have medical insurance, you will still get the same treatment from the hospital. Instead of insurance company providing you the cover, you will pay to the hospital. So hospital ke liye, it is the same service. Hospital service will be exempted. Medical insurance is a special benefit which you're giving, they are securing your payments. So it is not tied up with your healthcare. Okay, so under income tax, you get the benefit because the government wants to encourage these payments to insurance companies. So it is encouraging there. But under GST, these medical insurances or health insurances, all of that are not under healthcare. They are all taxable. Okay, it is all taxable. What is palliative care? Care for the terminally ill and their families, especially that provided by a organized healthcare. So palliative care is an interdisciplinary medical caretaking aimed at optimizing quality of life. So palliative care is also exempted because it's a service provided by the healthcare professionals itself. Sir, but definition saying recognized system on India only, then how is it exempt if a person going outside India is treatment? So does it say in recognized system of India? Let me just check. Yeah, recognized system of medicines in India. Correct. So only services in recognized system of medicines in India is exempted. So, but if I'm giving this medical thing, kind of my samples outside India, and they're testing and giving it. So they're only doing a testing on it. Medical system, recognized system of medicine. Yeah. So the testing is also a recognized system, and allopathy is covered there. So since allopathy is covered there, I'm sending, instead of me testing it over here, I'm sending it to a foreign country, but they're using the same system, not the other systems. They're using something like a acupressure or Reiki, then that will be taxable. But if I'm sending outside India and they're testing and giving it to me, still I think it will be exempted itself. Ms. Priyanka, your question is covered in point 4, palliative care for terminally ill patients. On request, such care is also provided to patients at their homes. Okay. So palliative care is also exempted. Healthcare service means any service by way of diagnosis or treatment or care for illness, injury, deformity, abnormality, or pregnancy in any system of medicine in India. It is immaterial whether such service is provided at the clinic establishment or at the home. Like we have home sample collections. That is also exempted. In case of this palliative care, the treatment is given at home of the patients. Thus, palliative care for terminally ill patients is also exempted. In-house medicine provided by hospital itself, is it exempt? If it is billed separately and not in conjunction with medical bill, which includes room charges, doctor fees, because outside medical stores usually charge tax. So if in-house medicine provided by hospital, so if they're including in their total bill, then it will be exempted. Now hospitals have, they're treating all of this as a composite supply, so it is treated as a exempted. If they're providing you a separate bill, they may not charge, but actually it is chargeable, because if they're providing you a separate medical bill, generally they will not, because they don't want to get into that litigation that they're providing you a separate bill. So they will provide you one bill with the medicine, room charges, doctor fees, everything. So they will call it as a composite supply. But if they provide you a separate bill for the medicine, then it is taxable, because it doesn't become a composite supply. Instead of you buying from a pharmacy, the hospital is selling you, then that will be taxable. Okay. Good questions coming in terms of this hospital service. Okay, so circular gave us a lot of clarification. Now, again, summarizing with the theory of the healthcare service, what is the mention in the text? Services by a veterinary clinic in relation to healthcare of animals or birds or services. So these are the entry numbers in the notification which I've reproduced here. Services by a veterinary clinic in relation to healthcare of animals or birds, services by way of healthcare services by a clinical establishment and authorized medical practitioner or paramedics, services provided by way of transportation of a patient in an ambulance other than those specified above, then services provided by cord blood banks by way of preservation of stem cells or any other service, services by rehabilitation professionals we have already seen if they're providing to healthcare, if they're providing to a 12 double A unit also it is exempted. They're providing to central government, state government, that is also exempt. Rehabilitation professionals are exempted itself. Healthcare services means any service by way of diagnosis or treatment or care for illness, injury, deformity, abnormality, or pregnancy in any recognized system of medicine in India, and include services by way of transportation of patient to and from a clinical establishment, but does not include hair transplant or cosmetic or plastic surgery, except when undertaken to restore or to reconstruct anatomy or functions of a body affected due to congenital defects, development abnormalities, injury, or trauma. Okay. Or sponsorship of medicine camps to exempt. Sponsorship of medicinal camps. So these are not service provider is the hospital who is providing you a sponsorship. The intention is for marketing. So when a company provides sponsorship for medical camps, okay, so then the service provider is the hospital who is organizing the camps. Service receiver is the company is providing the sponsorship. They are doing the sponsorship so that their band names will be displayed and things like that. Correct? Because wherever you see sponsorship, it will be sponsorship by nature itself is for marketing. So when you are doing the sponsorship of medical camps, then it will be taxable. The sponsorer has to pay tax under reverse charge. I don't think that is exempted because the healthcare service is not provided to the company who's providing the sponsorship. They are providing, giving the sponsorship for their publicity. So sponsorship of this medical camps, even though it is a medical camps is for healthcare, but the person who's providing the paying the money is not getting any healthcare service. It will be taxable. Good question. So sponsorship of medical camps are taxable. Okay. No more questions on healthcare. Can we proceed further? I'll just give 2 more minutes if you have any more questions in healthcare services. I have a doubt, Jasha, that we have to learn from outside anything if there is any changes about GST in next year's budget? Next year's budget will not be applicable to you because next year's budget will come on the end of February and it will get enacted after that, and you will have exams in May. So at least 6 months prior to the notifications issued, 6 months prior to the date of exams will be applicable for you. So budget changes, you don't have to read. What you have to read is legal update, which will be published on the Board of Studies portal. That you will have to read, nothing else. The textbook, the study material, and the legal updates. That's all. Suman Mukherjee, doctors, what is your question? Suman Chatterjee, what is your question on doctors? Services provided by doctors, is it exempt? Yes, services provided by doctors is exempt. Do you have any particular question in respect of doctors? Okay. Is routine checkup taxable? No. Routine checkup is also for diagnostic purposes, so it is exempted. Okay. So we are clear with healthcare services more or less. Now let's proceed with other service which are exempted. The biggest service is the government services. Okay. So please pay attention to this because it is lot of services here. You'll find services provided to government, services provided by government, everything you will get a hopscotch here. So please pay attention here. So firstly, before zooming in, let us see predominantly what is exempt. Government services, pure services provided by government, services provided to government is exempted firstly. Then other individual services, we'll see which of that is exempted and which of them is taxable. First is government services. Pure services or composite services involving goods up to 25% of the value is goods, then it is exempted. The services provided by government entities and services provided to government entities both are exempted. Okay, matlab pure services. Now government is there. Okay, a state government is there, or a municipality is there, or a panchayat is there. So all of that is government itself because they've used the word central government, state government, local authority, or a union territory. Okay. So there is a government authority and a municipality is there. Now their work is to clean the roads. Now, instead of the government doing it, government will have kind of limitation. So they will engage a third party contractor. Now, this third party contractor will provide services of cleaning of roads to the government. What service is it? Is there any goods involved? No, it is pure service work only. So cleaning of roads, he will employ manpower and do it. So this service provision by a contractor to the government is exempted because this is pure service. So pure services provided to, that's why they've used the word to, pure services or composite services up to goods having 25% value. First example is pure service, which I gave you. Second example, I'm doing some installation work or some kind of a works contract, fitting of the lamps, street lamps, light lamps. I'm doing it. It involves fixing up the poles and repairing and installing it. So in that contract, if the value of the goods is 25% and more than 75% is service, then that is also exempt. So more emphasis on service itself. So if it is purely service, or if it is a works contract with goods and service where the value of the goods is less than 25%, then it is exempted. Now, these services, what pure services I provide? Now, I provide auditing services. Will it be exempted? No, because these services should be in relation to 243G or 243G or 243W. What is 243G and 243W? They are articles of the Constitution, wherein the Constitution is detailing what all services this government can do. Like there is a specific list, okay, which says that what all services government can do. They can do municipality services, upkeep of the loan, upkeep of the common facilities, upkeep of the parks, okay. All of that is specified there, not compulsory for us to understand that, but we need to know that we have to write in our exams that if any services provided to the government, if it is covered under 243G and W, then it is exempted. Okay, so it should be pure services provided to the government, then it is exempted. So not all services which are in relation to activities of a function entrusted to a municipality under 243 G, 43W are entrusted to a panchayat under 243G. Okay, just one moment. Okay, just 243G and W. What is 243G and what is 243W is not required at this level. So just the clause, the article, this becomes relevant. Article municipality services provided under Article 243W and Panchayat services provided under 243G of the Constitution of India. If it is these services, then it is exempted. Now, this services provided to central government, state government, or local authority or union territory. Then, if one central government, one state government, or local authority provides to another central government, state government, and local authority, that is also exempt. Now, what is this CG, SG, LA, UT? CG means central government, SD means state government, LA means local authority, and UT means union territory. GA means government authority and GE means government entity. What is government authority and government entity also has been defined. We'll come to that. So services, pure services provided to central government, state government, local authority and union territory, and from one government to another is also exempted. That is first exemption. Then exclusion from supply definition. Firstly, under the supply definition itself, we have seen that there is an exclusion which says that any services provided by government authorities as public authorities. In section 7, when we read supply, you can go back and refer there. Exclusion is they are not covered under the definition of supply itself. What? When services are provided as public authorities, they are not supply. That is activities under 243G and 243W and supply of alcoholic liquor license. So we saw that alcoholic is liquor license is subject to state excise, but supply of alcoholic liquor license, whether there is GST, there is a clarification that on that there is no GST. Okay, so exclusion from supply definition itself, first part before going into notification. Then, so under section 7 itself, it's not a supply. What activities provided by the government in the nature of municipality or a panchayat. Okay, so 243G services provided by them is exempted and services provided to them is also exempted. Then Department of Posts, when they are providing to any government, it is exempt. Other than that, also it will be exempted. Okay, but the following will be taxable. Sale. To remember what all services? SALE, Speed Post, Allied Services, Life Insurance, and Express Parcel. Speed Post, AS is Allied Services. Allied Services like passports, bonds, mutual funds if they issue and they get some commission. That is all taxable. So all other services, these are under forward charge and that is sale services, 4 services. Speed Post, Allied Services, Life Insurance Services, Express Parcel Services, these are all taxable and they will collect GST on that. That is under forward charge. Other services like inland post, postal cards, money orders, those are all exempted. Okay, so Department of Post, it is taxable. Forward charge for sale items and other services, postal services, demand orders, money orders, that is all exempted. Then ports and airport services, posts it's covered. So if their postal services are provided to government, then it will be exempted. Then ports are airport services, aircrafts are vessels inside the port or outside the port premises is chargeable against GST FCM. Why I've said? Because you have RCM and FCM both in case of government services. So wherever I mentioned FCM, there government only will charge. Now, what are these services under ports? Port service, who is providing? The flight company is providing. So we will pay to the flight. Where is government getting involved? The premises, what we see, in the wherever landing of the port, landing of the flight happens, that is held by the government. So within that landing services or any kind of support what they give, okay, in the airport, that is a government service. Now that services what they will collect rent, or air traffic control is by the government, for which amount is collected by the government from the airport companies. Then freight hauling, which means flight hauling, which is the storage. They have to, flight cannot keep traveling from one place to another place on a continuous basis. It has to stop for some number of hours. For that, they will charge something as a rental, that is called as flight hauling. So air traffic control, flight hauling, and rent from stores, all of that services, if it is provided inside the airport or outside the airport, on that GST is chargeable. Okay. Then transportation services of goods and passengers is subject to GST, but you will have some exemptions that will apply. So when we read transportation services, we'll get to know, but generally GST is chargeable under forward charge. Then renting of immobile property, if they're providing to a registered person, if they're providing renting of immobile property like shops, government shops are the government complexes on which they charge rent. If that rent is charged to a registered person, then it is liability under me to pay under reverse charge. If it is to an unregistered person, then the government will pay. Confusing? Yes, it is confusing, but understand it separately. We will repeat it again. Just be with me and hold on. So renting of immobile property, renting of shops, if they are providing to an unregistered person, then the government only will pay GST on that. If they are providing to a person who is registered under GST, then the registered person has to pay under reverse charge. See, that's why green color reverse charge, orange color forward charge. Then all other services provided to a business entity, means apart from these services, any other services which is provided by the government, if it is provided to a business entity, then it will be under reverse charge. Okay, so if I'm getting any services from the government apart from post, airport services, transportation services, then I have to pay under reverse charge. And if it is for a non-registered entity or general public, it is exempted. But if it is to a registered entity, then registered entity has to pay under reverse charge. Exemption is if I am a person, it's business entity, not registered entity. It says business entity, and my annual turnover is less below the threshold limit, then my services, then I don't have to pay anything under reverse charge. If my registration limit is more, then whether I register or no, then if they're providing to any other government, then it is exempted. To non-government entity, then if I'm paying anything above 5,000, so the government didn't want to burden me if I'm a registered person to pay GST on everything. That's it. If it is less than 5,000 services, it is exempt. If it is more than 5,000, then I have to pay under reverse charge. Okay. Then specifically exempted special services that we'll see. So basically, these are the services which are mostly under forward charge. If I'm a registered business entity, then I have to pay under reverse charge. FCM मतलब forward charge. So forward charge होते हैं. That is called as forward charge. So reverse charge का opposite जो service provider charge करता है recipient से, उसे forward charge कहते हैं. So government recently brought back Indian citizen from Ukraine. It was their own flight, so they didn't charge anything for that. So GST doesn't appear there. Please repeat port and airport services. Okay. Port and airport services means electricity services provided by Adani is exempt. Yes, electricity is a exempt services. So on electricity, no GST is collected. Port and airport services. So in a port or an airport, you go and have some facilities and you have some charges which is charged by the government to this port airplane or a if it is a ship, to on the ship they also charge vessel. When we say vessel means any kind of a ship. So services are provided, that premises is generally held by the government. So this government provides some service to the port, the flights or the vessels, okay, or this airplane companies. So these services provided by the government is chargeable to GST. The government will collect some charges, like airport का maintenance score करता है Airport Authority of India. So Airport Authority of India will collect rental charges, will collect rental for the shops, will collect the air traffic ATC charges from the flight companies. All of that, on that they will charge GST under forward charge. Okay. Now everybody is asking elaborate EP again sir. EP का मतलब क्या होता है? स्पीड पोस्ट, एंसिलरी सर्विसेज, लाइफ इंश्योरेंस एंड एक्सप्रेस पार्सल. जैसे पार्सल नॉर्मल पार्सल है वो ठीक है, उसके अलावा जब भी एक्सप्रेस पार्सल होगा then the charges ज्यादा रहेगा. On that also GST is charged by the postal department. ठीक है. Now अभी इसका समरी आप हिंदी में पूछ रहे हो, ठीक है, एक बार उन लोगों के लिए हिंदी में बता देंगे. जो प्योर सर्विस होता है, सिर्फ सर्विस प्रोवाइड करते हैं और कॉम्पोजिट सर्विस प्रोवाइड करते हैं जहां पे गुड्स और सर्विस दोनों इन्वॉल्व है, लेकिन गुड्स की परसेंटेज कम है वहां पे. मतलब जब भी आप टोटल कॉन्ट्रैक्ट दे रहे हो उसमें आपका कॉस्टिंग के हिसाब से आप बोल रहे हो कि मेरा गुड्स कंपोनेंट कम है, ये सिर्फ 25% से नीचे है, तब वो प्योर सर्विस और वो वर्क्स कॉन्ट्रैक्ट सर्विस जहां पे वैल्यू ऑफ गुड्स लेस देन 25% है वो भी एग्जेम्प्ट हो जाएगा. किसके लिए? जब कॉन्ट्रैक्टर सर्विस प्रोवाइड करता है तब एग्जेम्प्ट होगा, और गवर्नमेंट भी जब प्रोवाइड करती है तब भी एग्जेम्प्ट होगा, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट के सर्विसेज हमने देखा है 7(2) में ऑलरेडी एग्जेम्प्टेड है. 7(2) सप्लाई के डेफिनेशन 7(2) में ये ऑलरेडी एग्जेम्प्टेड है, क्योंकि सर्विसेज प्रोवाइडेड बाय एनी एक्टिविटीज अंडर 243G एंड 243W. मतलब गवर्नमेंट जो म्युनिसिपैलिटी और पंचायत के मामले में जो भी सर्विस प्रोवाइड करती है वो एग्जेम्प्टेड रहेगा. और सप्लाई ऑफ अल्कोहलिक लिकर लाइसेंस के ऊपर भी GST नहीं है, हमने सप्लाई में देख लिया था. तो ये एग्जेम्पशन हो गया. अभी नोटिफिकेशंस क्या क्या एग्जेम्पशन देता है? पोस्ट डिपार्टमेंट अगर गवर्नमेंट को सर्विस प्रोवाइड करती है, बल्क पोस्ट करती है, कुछ भी पोस्ट सर्विस प्रोवाइड करती है जो गवर्नमेंट को सर्विस प्रोवाइड करेगी वो एग्जेम्प्टेड रहेगा. जैसे पोस्टल डिपार्टमेंट क्या सर्विस प्रोवाइड कर सकती है? गवर्नमेंट को नोटिस देना है 10,000 लोगों को, वो पोस्टल डिपार्टमेंट के पास जाएगा और एक एक स्टैंप नहीं लगाएगा, एक एक साथ स्टैंप सील लगाते हैं वो. ठीक है, तो सील का जो बेसिक स्टैंप वैल्यू है वो तो चार्ज करेंगे, लेकिन उसके ऊपर GST नहीं लगाएंगे. ठीक है, क्योंकि गवर्नमेंट के नोटिसेस है भेजने के लिए. तो सर्विसेज ऑफ पोस्ट जो गवर्नमेंट को देने हैं वो एग्जेम्प्टेड है. गवर्नमेंट के अलावा जो दूसरे सर्विसेज होते हैं, दूसरों पब्लिक को जो देते हैं, कंपनीज को देते हैं, वो सब एग्जेम्प्टेड रहेगा, सिवाय चार सर्विसेज. ये 4 सर्विसेज को याद रखने की है. मैंने एक टर्म यूज किया सेल. सेल में क्या क्या होता है? स्पीड पोस्ट, अलाइड सर्विसेज मतलब जो कमीशन लेते हैं, पासपोर्ट सर्विस हो गया, बॉन्ड्स हो गया, म्यूचुअल फंड्स बेचते हैं, आजकल पासपोर्ट की भी सर्विस प्रोवाइड करते हैं वो लोग, पोस्ट ऑफिस वाले. तो ये सब के लिए आधार भी लिंक करते हैं, उनके लिए जो भी सर्विस चार्जेस कलेक्ट करते हैं वो अलाइड सर्विस में आ जाएगा, वो सब टैक्सेबल रहेगा. LI मतलब लाइफ इंश्योरेंस का भी सर्विस प्रोवाइड करते हैं, जिसका कमीशन वो लेते हैं वो भी टैक्सेबल है. और EP मतलब एक्सप्रेस पार्सल. तो ये 4 सर्विसेज पे ही GST लगेगा, बाकी सब एग्जेम्पशन रह जाएंगे. दूसरे सर्विसेज कौन से एग्जेम्प्ट हो जाएंगे? जैसे पोस्टल हो गया, पोस्ट कार्ड्स बेचते हैं, स्टैंप्स बेचते हैं, मनी ऑर्डर करते हैं, वो सब एग्जेम्प्ट हो जाएगा. ठीक है. फिर पोर्ट एयरपोर्ट सर्विसेज, पोर्ट के अंदर जो भी सर्विसेज गवर्नमेंट फ्लाइट कंपनीज को देती है और स्टोर्स वगैरह खोल के रेंट जो कलेक्ट करती है, वो उसके ऊपर टैक्सेबल ही है। मतलब एग्जाम्पशन बहुत कम है, यहाँ पे टैक्सेबल ही ज्यादा है। फिर ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सर्विस, जो भी ट्रांसपोर्टेशन सर्विस है हम ट्रांसपोर्टेशन में देखेंगे, वो जो एग्जेम्पशन है वो तो है, उसके अलावा जो भी है उसके ऊपर जीएसटी कलेक्ट करेगा। जैसे हम ट्रांसपोर्टेशन ऑफ रेलवे ले लेते हैं, जो नॉर्मल क्लास होता है वो एग्जेम्प्टेड है, फर्स्ट क्लास और एसी है वो टैक्सेबल है, तो उसके ऊपर रिवर्स चार्ज पे करना पड़ेगा, नहीं फॉरवर्ड चार्ज गवर्नमेंट ही टिकट के ऊपर जीएसटी कलेक्ट कर लेगी। ठीक है। फिर रेंटिंग ऑफ इमूवेबल प्रॉपर्टी, अगर कुछ दुकान आपने गवर्नमेंट से भाड़े पे लिया है तो फिर उसके ऊपर रिवर्स चार्ज या फॉरवर्ड चार्ज आएगा। रिवर्स चार्ज कब आएगा? अगर मैं रजिस्टर्ड पर्सन हूं, और फॉरवर्ड चार्ज कब आएगा? अगर वो गवर्नमेंट अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन को प्रोवाइड करती है। ठीक है। फिर दो कैटेगरी ऑफ सर्विसेज है, ऑल अदर सर्विसेज अदर देन दीज। जनरली गवर्नमेंट कुछ भी अगर दूसरे सर्विस प्रोवाइड करती है, अगर जनरल पब्लिक को देती है तो एग्जेम्प्टेड है, बिजनेस एंटिटी को देती है तो एग्जेम्पशन रहेगा। कब एग्जेम्प्ट रहेगा? जब मेरा टर्नओवर रजिस्ट्रेशन लिमिट के नीचे है, तब एक टर्नओवर तो एग्जेम्प्ट होगा। अगर लिमिट से ज्यादा है मेरा, लाइक 20 लाख और 40 लाख जो लिमिट है उससे ज्यादा मेरा टर्नओवर है, तो फिर मैं टैक्स पे करूंगा, और तभी पे करूंगा जब ये वैल्यू मोर देन 5,000 हो। ठीक है। अगर 5,000 के नीचे है तो फिर मुझे उस सर्विस के ऊपर टैक्स भरने की जरूरत नहीं है। मोर देन 5,000 है तो फिर मुझे रिवर्स चार्ज पे करना है। इसके अलावा कुछ स्पेशली एग्जेम्प्टेड सर्विसेज है इन रिलेशन टू गवर्नमेंट है, वो एग्जेम्प्टेड रहेंगे, वो जो हम डिस्कस करेंगे। क्लियर अप टिल नाउ? Renting of immobility, RCM or FCM, it depends. If you are registered, then it is RCM. If you are not registered, then it is forward charge. Kanaya Singh. ठीक है। What would happen when goods contain more than 25% of the total service? तो फिर वो सर्विस प्योर सर्विस नहीं रहेगा, तो फिर उसके ऊपर टैक्स पे करना पड़ेगा। तो कॉन्ट्रैक्टर जो गुड्स बेचता है और सर्विस कॉम्पोनेंट कम है तो उसको जीएसटी चार्ज करना पड़ेगा, एग्जेम्पशन नहीं ले सकता है। पोस्ट ऑफिस में तो एफडी होती है, उस पे टैक्स है क्या? एफडी के ऊपर क्या देते हैं भैया? एफडी के ऊपर इंटरेस्ट देते हैं, इंटरेस्ट तो एग्जेम्प्टेड है ही है, तो इंटरेस्ट के ऊपर आपको टैक्स नहीं लगेगा। ठीक है। नाउ अदर स्पेशल सर्विसेज जो बोल रहे थे हम, स्पेशल सर्विसेज में क्या क्या कवर है? गारंटिंग ऑफ लोन्स टू गवर्नमेंट अंडरटेकिंग और पीएसयूज, रजिस्ट्रेशन सर्विसेज रिक्वायर्ड अंडर एनी लॉ। जैसे जीएसटी रजिस्ट्रेशन करने पे कुछ रजिस्ट्रेशन फीस भरना पड़ता है क्या? नहीं भरना पड़ता है, लेकिन पहले वैट जो था, वैट रजिस्ट्रेशन जब करते थे तो 500 रुपीज गवर्नमेंट को रजिस्ट्रेशन फीस पे करते थे। या FSSAI रजिस्ट्रेशन आजकल ले लिया, फूड सेफ्टी एंड स्टैंडर्ड्स अथॉरिटी ऑफ इंडिया, जब रजिस्ट्रेशन करते हैं गवर्नमेंट को रजिस्ट्रेशन फीस देते हैं, दैट इज एग्जेम्प्टेड। तो ये स्पेशल सर्विसेज है, ये एग्जेम्पशन की हम बोल रहे हैं। गारंटिंग लोन्स टू गवर्नमेंट अंडरटेकिंग, गवर्नमेंट अंडरटेकिंग जैसे कोल इंडिया, ऑयल इंडिया, BHPL, ये सब गवर्नमेंट कंपनीज हैं या गवर्नमेंट अंडरटेकिंग्स हैं। इनको बैंक से लोन लेना है, लेकिन बैंक वाले बोलते हैं हम आपको लोन नहीं देंगे, आप गवर्नमेंट से गारंटी लेके आइए। इफ यू गिव गारंटी फ्रॉम द बैंक फ्रॉम द गवर्नमेंट देन विल गिव यू। तो गवर्नमेंट विल गिव द गारंटी, फॉर दैट इट विल कलेक्ट सम चार्जेस फ्रॉम दीज कंपनीज, saying that we are giving you a guarantee, you have to pay us some charges. For that, whatever the guaranteeing loan and getting some money from these government undertaking and PSUs, it will be exempted. Okay. So guaranteeing loans to government undertakings is exempted. Registration services required under any law will be exempted. Like marriage registrations, the registrar collects some amount, that is also exempted. Testing, calibration, and certification services. Labs are there which do testings, or vehicle testings have to be done in terms of their calibrations, and any kind of certification government provides. All of that is exempted. Then passport, visa, driving license, birth and death certificate, any charges collected for them is also exempted. Tolerating non-performance of a contract, fines and liquidated damages, whatever it collects, that is also exempted. Like, what is tolerating non-performance? Matlab, it has entered into a contract. Now the party has breached it, for which it collects fines or damages. Saying that I gave you a contract, you have not fulfilled it. I will levy some liquidated damages from you. That is exempted because government services majorly are under exemption. So they are specifically specifying that tolerating of non-performance of a contract because you had to do the contract. Now you have not done. I will collect some damages from you. That is also exempted. Assignment of right to use natural resources to an individual farmer. Okay. Now right to use natural resources के लिए if there is some kind of a coal or oil is there and we are assigning of a right, then that is also exempted. Then deputing officer after office hours. So when in the contracts we'll see in the customs after the normal office hours, there is a heavy load of goods which are coming. So the government will depute some officers to private units for checking and it will collect some charges. That is also exempted. Excess royalty collection contractor to collect royalty on behalf of the state government. So government excess royalty collection it has to do for which it employed some contractors. Now that contractors they will collect the royalty on behalf of the government and give it to him. But for their extra time, they will charge some value that is also exempted. Service of rehabilitation professionals. We have seen that rehabilitation professionals to rehabilitation center by government is exempted. Then service of old age home where consideration is up to 25,000 per month, which is run by the government, that is also exempt. Clear? So this is a nutshell of other special services which is exempted. Renting of Ramchandra, what is your doubt? Please explain. Renting of movable property पे आरपी registered person पे एफसीएम और यूआरपी पे एफसीएम नहीं होना चाहिए. यूआरपी पे कैसे फॉरवर्ड चार्ज कलेक्ट करेंगे? यूआरपी पे आरसीएम होना चाहिए. एफसीएम पे एटीसी क्लेम करना है. नहीं, यूआरपी है तो आरसीएम कैसे भरेगा? वो ऑलरेडी अनरजिस्टर्ड है. ठीक है, तो वो पे नहीं कर सकता, इसलिए फॉरवर्ड चार्ज है कि गवर्नमेंट सर्विस प्रोवाइड करती है, गवर्नमेंट कलेक्ट करेगी. गवर्नमेंट टैक्स तो मुझसे कलेक्ट कर सकती है ना. आप भी अब जब कभी दुकान जाते हो, होटल जाते हो, आप रजिस्टर्ड नहीं हो, फिर भी आप टैक्स पे करते हो, तो सर्विस प्रोवाइडर आपसे टैक्स कलेक्ट करके पे करेगा. तो रेंटिंग ऑफ इमोबल प्रॉपर्टी टू एन अनरजिस्टर्ड पर्सन गवर्नमेंट कलेक्ट करेगी, और अगर रजिस्टर्ड है तो रजिस्टर्ड बंदा ही पे करेगा. ठीक है. गुड, ऑल क्लियर सर. गवर्नमेंट सर्विसेज आप समझ गए हो तो फिर बहुत 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 अच्छी बात है. Because this is a veritable forward charge, reverse charge, exempt, all the three comes over here. Deputing officer after office hours and royalty collection point, please explain. Okay. So, deputing officer after office hours. जैसे normal office hours पे inspection वगैरह होता है, that is there under their normal salary they will do. But if they are called upon to do extra thing, they have to pay extra services, extra salary to them. Correct? The government has to give extra salary to them. So for that, the government gets compensated by collecting the extra money from the shipping companies. Okay. So for that, whatever charges is collected, that is a part of their function, but they're getting extra charges. That is a exempt service. Then excess royalty collection contractor to collect royalty on behalf of state government, like mines and all are there. वहां पे there is a royalty, whatever minerals are raw coal and all is natural products are being extracted, on that government collects the royalty. Now excess royalty collection happens for which a contractor is appointed. This contractor who collects the extra royalty on behalf of the government, he will tell, I have put my people, so I need some labor charges for them. So the contractor uh, charges something to the government, that is also exempted. Where is 25,000 provision there in book? Sir, in you see this has come again and again. Old age home, if you see, it has come at various places. Old age home run by the contractor. In the first exemption only, it's covered under charitable organizations. So charitable or old age home run by the charitable organizations or run by a government where the rent is up to 25,000, it is exempted. Supply or alcohol by government. The supply of alcohol by government doesn't supply alcohol. The private parties supply the alcohol, but it is regulated. So the supply of alcohol by the private parties, they have to be regulated. So let's say what they have done, we have given you licenses. When you go to any liquor shop, I mean, you don't go, just see from outside. Not encourage you to go to a liquor shop. Outside itself, you'll see there'll be a license number which is displayed. So when they display this license number, it means anybody cannot open a liquor business. They have to take license from the government. So this license, what they take, for this, the government collect license fees. Okay, this license fees is exempted, is what we are saying, because subsequent sale of liquor on that excise is there. Each state levies state excise that continues. Clear, Nagaraju? Okay, so we'll take a break now and we'll come back after 10 minutes. Okay. So we have covered government services. Now, in government services, after our discussion, there are some amendments and some additions. So we'll straight away go to the slide which says what are the amendments so we could understand that. So in this supplementary material, whatever amendments has been taken place and which is relevant is provided here. So this notification number 12 of 2017, which is the actual notification for exemption of services. In this, there is the amendment to the government services, pure services, excluding works contract services provided to a central government, state government, union territory, or a government authority and government entity. So from with effect from 1st January 2022, government authority and government entity is gone. So that's the reason I had mentioned in the first point itself, pure services provided only to central government, state government, union territory, and local authority will be exempted. If it is provided to a government authority or government entity, it will be taxable. Similarly, the works contract service also. Okay, pure service and works contract service where 25% of the value is goods. There also, if they're providing to government authority and government entity, then it will be taxable with effect from 1st January 2022. Then this is the main exemption with respect to government. Transportation of passengers and other things, once we read that, then we'll come back. Okay. Transportation of passengers is there, then transportation in railways, other things will come back. And another exemption is services provided to the central government, state government, union territory, administered under any training program for which 75% or more of the expenditure is borne by the government. So service provided to government for any kind of a training program. Okay. If that training program earlier, there was no mention of 75%. Now they've said that if earlier it was total of that expenditure has to be borne by the government, then exemption was available. Now they said if the government doesn't pay 100%, if the government pays just 75% also, still it will be exempted. Earlier it was full should be borne by the government. Now they said full is not required. Even if 75% is borne by the government for the training services, wherein 75% is borne by the government, then it will still be exempted. Okay. Then what is the new services what they've introduced? Services by way of granting national permit to a goods carriage to operate throughout India, that is also exempted. So national permits what we give. The RTO gives you the permits for national permits. So any way of granting national permit, if it is given to any kind of vehicles, that is also exempt. Then there was exemption of leasing of assets by the Indian Railways, Indian Railway Finance Corporation to Indian Railways. That is no more there. So if any leasing of assets is happened by the Indian Railways Finance Corporation to the railways, it will be taxable. So you may get a question saying that the Indian Railways Finance Corporation has leased goods to Indian Railways. Is it taxable or exempted? So right, it is taxable because with effect from 1st October 2021, the exemption has been removed. Okay, so these are the amendments which are there for your exams. Please explain government authority and government entity. Yeah, government authority and government entity is being specifically defined. What is a government authority? It means an authority or a board or any body which is set up by an act of the parliament or established by the government, wherein 90% of the equity is held by the government. That's a government authority. Huh? So it could be any government authority which is doing the function of the government by itself. It could run the activities of 243 and G and 343W. So government authority and government entity both are defined in a similar manner, wherein they will do the functions of the government by themselves. So uh, uh, they will do the activities of the government on behalf of the government. They will do it. So since government cannot do all functions, they will set up a authority or a board. So that will be called as a government authority or entity. Now, these authority or entity, how you will decide whether it's a government authority or government entity, where 90% or more of the equity or control is there by the government. Now, this can be a private limited also, it can be a society, it can be trust or anything. Okay. The difference is government entity can be a society or a trust, but government authority will be a board or a body. Okay, so government authority and government entity, if any services is provided to them, pure services and services where up to 25% is goods that was earlier exempted from 1st January 2022, that will be taxable. Okay. Okay. So we understood government authority and government services. So we'll read the text. Services by government authority by way of any activity in relation to any function entrusted to a municipality under 243W is exempted. Services by a government authority by way of any activity in relation to function entrusted to a panchayat under 243G is exempted. The services by a government authority under 243W or 243G is exempted. Services by central government, state government, union territory, or local authority is exempted except the following, which is postal services, aircraft, transportation of goods or passengers, or any other services provided to business entities. Except these four, everything is exempted. Then services provided by the central government, state government, union territory, or local authority to a business entity with an aggregate turnover of registration limit in the preceding financial year, excluding postal aircraft transportation and renting of immovable properties, is exempted. Is taxable, means if they're providing to a business entity, it will be taxable. Services provided by one government authority to another government authority, except pre-specified services, is taxable. Is again exempted. One government to another government is exempted. Service by the supply of service by government entity to central government, state government, union territory, except PAT. What is PAT? Postal services, airport and transportation services. Postal services, airport and transportation services. Small form is PAT. So this services provided one government authority to another is all exempted, but these three will be taxable. Supply of services by a government entity to central government, state government, union territory, local authority, or any person specified by the central government, state government, or local authority against consideration received in the form of grants. Why is this highlighted in red? Because this is important. Because supply of services by a government entity to central government, state government, or union territory, which is or any person which is specified by central government, state government, union territory against consideration received in the form of grants. So if any grants are received by anybody but given by the government, then that grants is exempted. So if this grant is received by any private person or any organization, then the grants are taxable. But if you receive any grants from the government, okay, from the government, central government, state government, union territory, local authority, then the grants are exempted. Okay. Grants means what? For doing some activity, some equity is given to encourage startups, government gives grants. Okay, so these grants are all exempted because it is given by the government. So grants given by the government, by a government entity to central government, state government, local authority, or any person. Okay, so grants given by government alone is exempted. Grants given by any other person is taxable. Then services by an old age home run by the central government, state government, or entity registered under 12AA or AB of the IT Act to its residents aged above 60 years. Again, consideration up to 25,000 per month per member, provided the consideration is all inclusive of boarding, lodging, and maintenance, then it is exempted. Then loan guaranteeing services, special services, we had discussed this. Loan guaranteeing services, registration required under any law for the time being in force for testing, calibration, safety check or certification, then uh, all fire license, all of that is exempted. Whatever I had mentioned in the slides, I'm detailing here, nothing to get confused. Then issuance of passport, visa, driving license, birth certificate or death certificate, exempted. Generally, birth certificate, death certificate, they don't collect any charges. But if in some states do, then it will be exempted. Tolerating non-performance of a contract for which consideration in the form of fines or liquidated damages is collected. Okay, so any fines or liquidated damages or penalties is collected, that will be exempted. Assignment of right to use natural resources to an individual farmer. Okay, right to use natural resources is given to an individual farmer for cultivation of plants and rearing of all life of animals except rearing of horses. Okay, right to use natural resources is given only to an individual farmer. If it is given to a company or something like coals have been, they have big companies like Gale and big Ambani companies are there which do the lot of extraction of natural resources. Then that will be taxable. They have to pay tax on that. They have to pay royalty on that. But if the government gives the assignment of right to use natural resource to an individual farmer for cultivation of plants or trading of animals, then it is exempted. Deputing officers after office hours or on holidays for inspection or container stuffing or such other duties in relation to import-export cargo on payment of merchant overtime charges is exempted. Then excess royalty collection contractor by way of assigning the right to collect royalty on behalf of the state government on the mineral dispatched by the mining leaseholders, that is also exempted. Clear? I'll upload these charts on the BOS app. Don't worry. Grants given by 12AA related trusts, grants given by trusts, is it? Grants given by these trusts are also taxable because the grants should be given by the government only. If it is government, not a government, and it's a 12AA trust, then it is still taxable. Only grants given by the government is exempt. Clear with government services? Or if there's any doubt, please let me know. We are going into next exemption service. Okay, so we'll go to next exemption service, which is construction services. Services, this is very simple, nothing much complicated here. Services provided by way of pure labor contracts. So first we know that construction of a building and things like that, that is not exempted. That is all taxable. flats, apartments for which the builders collect charges. On that, they pay the low rate. Either it is 1% or 5%. So if it's a small accommodation, then it's 1%. Affordable housing, then it's 1%. If it is more, then it is 5%. Then what is exempted here? Services provided by way of pure labor contractors for construction, erection, commissioning, installation, completion, fitting out, repairs, maintenance, renovation. Basically, any kind of alteration or construction pertaining to now pertaining to what? This is important. Pertaining to beneficiary-led individual house construction or enhancement under Housing for All Mission or Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana. This is important. So any kind of services which is given under Housing for All Mission or Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana, then only it is exempted. So government schemes given by the government is exempted. हाउसिंग फॉर ऑल मिशन और प्रधानमंत्री आवास योजना के लिए स्टार्टिंग कंस्ट्रक्शन से लेकर रिनोवेशन तक जो भी प्योर लेबर सर्विसेज है दैट इज एग्जेम्प्टेड. इफ इट इज गुड्स देन गुड्स आर टैक्सेबल बट सर्विसेज इज एग्जेम्प्टेड. देन कंस्ट्रक्शन, एरेक्शन, कमीशनिंग, इंस्टॉलेशन ऑफ ओरिजिनल वर्क्स मतलब नया कंस्ट्रक्शन, रिनोवेशन, रिपेयर, ऑल दोस नॉट कवर्ड. ओरिजिनल वर्क्स पर्टेनिंग टू अ सिंगल रेसिडेंशियल यूनिट. आप एक अपना घर बना रहे हो तब उसके लिए जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा. जब ग्रुप ऑफ बिल्डिंग्स बनाते हैं तब जीएसटी लगेगा. इफ इट इज पर्टेनिंग टू अ सिंगल रेसिडेंशियल यूनिट विच इज अदरवाइज एज अ पार्ट ऑफ रेसिडेंशियल कॉम्प्लेक्स देन इट विल बी एग्जेम्प्टेड. ठीक है. सिंगल हाउस जो आपके लिए यूज कर रहे हो आप वो एग्जेम्प्टेड है. लेकिन जो बिल्डर कंस्ट्रक्शन प्रोवाइड करते हैं वो फुल ग्रुप ऑफ हाउसेस के लिए करते हैं, मोर देन 1 यूनिट, दैट विल बी टैक्सेबल. Then services supplied by electricity distribution entities. It is a part of the construction service, इसलिए यहाँ पे include किया है. Services supplied by electricity distribution utilities by way of construction, erection, commissioning, installation of infrastructure. जैसे एक electricity distribution company है, ठीक है. हर स्टेट में इलेक्ट्रिसिटी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन कंपनीज होती हैं जो गवर्नमेंट की इलेक्ट्रिसिटी को डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करती है. बेस्कॉम्स एंड टेस्कॉम्स, इलेक्ट्रिसिटी सप्लाई कंपनीज, ठीक है, जो डिस्ट्रीब्यूट करती है पावर को. अब वो क्या एग्जेम्पशन मिलेगा उनको इफ दे आर डूइंग एनी कंस्ट्रक्शन, एरेक्शन, कमीशनिंग, इंस्टॉलेशन ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर फॉर एक्सटेंडिंग इलेक्ट्रिसिटी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन नेटवर्क्स up to the tube well of the farmer or agriculturist for agriculture use. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी लाइन लगा ही रहे हैं और गांव में एक फार्मर बोलता है मेरे ट्यूबवेल तक आप इलेक्ट्रिसिटी लगा दीजिए. इलेक्ट्रिसिटी डिस्ट्रीब्यूशन बोलेगा मेरा काम तो स्ट्रेट लगाने का है, डाइवर्जन नहीं लेने का है. इफ आई टेक डाइवर्जन देन यू हैव टू पे मी एक्स्ट्रा चार्जेस. ठीक है, मैं एक्स्ट्रा चार्जेस पे कर लूंगा. फार्मर बोलता है मेरे ट्यूबवेल तक इलेक्ट्रिसिटी आ रहा है तो आई विल पे एक्स्ट्रा चार्जेस. So he pays that extra charges to the electricity company. On that, they don't have to charge GST. That is the exemption. The normal laying on that, government will pay the money. But if there's any diversion and they're doing infrastructure for extending the electricity distribution networks, then they will collect some charges from the group of farmers. Then the farmers don't have to pay GST on that. Already it's a burden. They don't want to increase. That's why it is exempted. Okay. Then supply of TDR. Okay, transferable development rights, floor, FSI index. Okay, long-term lease of land by landowner to a developer. Condition is constructed flats are sold before issuance of completion certificates. Then it will be exempted. So any term deposit, we saw no, the TDR certificates. Okay, transferable development rights, FSI certificate, floors index बढ़ाने के लिए, और long term lease where a land is given by a landowner to a developer. Okay, whenever a landowner gives it to a developer, then it will be exempted with the condition that when I sell it, those flats, okay, all should be sold before issuance of completion certificate. क्यों? Because before issuance of completion certificate, if he sells, then that will be liable to GST. So government will get GST on that. But if it is sold after completion certificate, then the government doesn't get GST on that. GST becomes exempted. In construction services, we saw After issuance of completion certificate, it becomes a land. On land, there is no GST. So if they come sell all the flats before issuance of completion certificate, then it is all taxable. Okay, so government will get tax over there. That's why they've said exemption over here. So this exemption is linked to that taxable, saying that I will give you exemption on this TDR, FSI, and long-term lease by the landlord to you, provided you sell all your flats. Say after completion certificate, up to completion certificate, some flat did not get sold, and have sold it later on. Then they have to pay tax at that point of time. They will withdrawn, the exemption will be withdrawn to the extent of flat sold after completion certificate and will be taxed at 1% or 5% respective. जो अभी टैक्स भरना है वो आपको बाद में भरना पड़ेगा, तो इंटरेस्ट भी लगेगा. ठीक है. So TDR, FSI and long-term lease of land by a landowner to developer is generally exempted. The condition is all the flats should be sold before issuance of completion certificate. If not, then whatever exemptions you have claimed, you have to reverse and pay it at the time of completion certificate. Clear on this? Hmm. Pranav, you're saying supplementary book का page जो दिखाया था, it says that these notifications are not related to our exam. No, no, you're getting confused. I'll show you that screen again. It says in the last page here, notification number 7, notification number 16, notification number 16. These are the notification number. What you are seeing here is entry numbers mirroring thing. These entry numbers have been given only for reference purposes and are not relevant for examination purpose. So it means the reference is not relevant. These serial numbers are not relevant, but the description is relevant. These entry numbers have been given only for reference. These entry numbers are there. No, this you don't have to remember the entry numbers. You have to only remember the description is what even I had said. The description you have to remember and the entry number you don't have to remember. That is what is mentioned here. These entry numbers has been given only for reference purposes and are not relevant for examination purpose. So these numbers are not relevant, but the description of service is relevant. Clear, Pranav? Government services, basically pure services are exempted if they are not for all, only under Pradhan Mantri Awas Yojana and any kind of constructions of single residential unit. Then electricity distribution companies extending their services, providing some services to the farmer is exempted. Third is TDRs and FSIs. Okay, TDRs and FSIs provided to developer is exempted provided he sells all the flats before issuance of the completion certificate. If a person constructed for business purpose, then it will be taxable. So single residential unit only they have said in the exemption. It is original works pertain to single residential unit. So commercial unit, office unit is all taxable. Good question. So even if it is single residential unit, only then it is exempted. If it's single business unit, then it become taxable. Pure contract labor are casual or permanent labor supplies. Nothing called permanent. Pure labor or casual supply itself, because they will do the project and then go away. So they are all casual labor itself, not permanent labors, because they'll not give you permanent service. They'll give you a service what is required. There's nothing called permanent labor supply in that. For your project, they will provide the service. So pure labor contract is a project to project base. Correct. It's a contract to contract base. चैप्टर की थ्योरी क्वेश्चंस, यस चैप्टर के थ्योरी क्वेश्चंस भी आ सकते हैं, क्योंकि एग्जाम्पशंस इतना बड़ा है, थ्योरी भी आ सकते हैं, प्रॉब्लम्स भी आ सकते हैं. जब हम प्रॉब्लम सॉल्व करेंगे तब आप समझोगे कि कौन से तरह के प्रॉब्लम्स आ सकते हैं. Now we'll go to transportation of passengers. Transportation, first is transportation of passengers, then transportation of goods. दोनों देखेंगे हम लोग. What is the exemption in terms of transportation of passengers, then transportation of goods. First we'll see the transportation of passengers. First देख लेते हैं. Transportation of passengers by air, road, rail or water. ठीक है. एयर ट्रांसपोर्टेशन फ्लाइट में जब जाते हैं, फिर रोड में जब जाते हैं, रेल में और वाटर में. जनरली फ्लाइट में एग्जेम्पशन मिलना चाहिए, क्योंकि फ्लाइट हम इतना पैसा भरते हैं तो वहां पे एग्जेम्पशन जनरली नहीं मिलता है. एयर ट्रांसपोर्ट के लिए जो भी टिकट के पैसे लगते हैं उसके ऊपर जो भी टैक्स, सभी तरह के टैक्स लग ही जाते हैं, तो जीएसटी भी लगता ही है. बट इफ यू आर एम्बार्किंग फ्रॉम न्यू पोर्ट्स, जैसे जनरली गवर्नमेंट वांट्स टू एंकरेज कि आप नए नए जो पोर्ट्स हैं उसके ऊपर अगर आप नए फ्लाइट्स वगैरह लगाते हो तो उसके ऊपर हम जीएसटी चार्ज नहीं करेंगे. So to encourage these places, they have said that GST नहीं लगेगा, which is embarking from or terminating. If a flight is taking off from this place or landing at that place, which place? Bagdogra, Arunachal Pradesh, Tripura, Manipur, Meghalaya, Mizoram, Assam, Nagaland or Sikkim. These are not special category states. These are developing states. तो special category states जो हम registration में देखे थे वो अलग है. And these are separate. Okay, so these category of states में exemption रहेगा. How to remember that? Batmans, BATMMMANS. B for बागडोगरा वेस्ट बंगाल का एक सिटी है. अरुणाचल प्रदेश, त्रिपुरा, मणिपुर, मेघालय, मिजोरम, असम, नागालैंड और सिक्किम, यहाँ के जगहों पे जब भी नई फ्लाइट उड़ान लेगी या फ्लाइट लैंड करेगी तो एग्जेम्पशन है टिकट पे. ठीक है. फिर बाकी सभी एयरपोर्ट के ऊपर आपको तो टैक्स पे करना ही है. देन रोड, वी आर टॉकिंग ऑफ पैसेंजर ट्रांसपोर्ट. गुड्स ट्रांसपोर्ट अभी बात नहीं कर रहे हैं. पैसेंजर ट्रांसपोर्ट में इफ यू आर ट्रांसपोर्ट ट्रैवलिंग बाई रोड तो फिर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कैरेज, स्टेज कैरेज और मीटर्ड कैब, तीन तरह के हो सकते हैं. फर्स्ट विल टॉक ऑन स्टेज कैरेज, कि एक स्टेट से दूसरे स्टेट जब जाता है तब इफ इट इज नॉन एसी तो एग्जेम्प्टेड, और एसी हो तो टैक्सेबल. मतलब लोकल बसेस और इंटरस्टेट की बसेस जो होती है दैट इज अंडर स्टेट कैरेज. सो नॉन एसी है तो फिर एग्जेम्प्टेड है, और एसी बसेस टैक्सेबल है. ठीक है. फिर कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कैरेज, जो आपको एक फिक्स्ड कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के लिए लेके जाता है। जैसे आप ट्रैवल करते हो और पूरा बैंगलोर घूमने के लिए आप ट्रांसपोर्ट अप्लाई लेते हो, ठीक है, और बस या टेम्पो लेते हो, दैट इज कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कैरेज। स्टेज कैरेजेस गवर्नमेंट के स्टेजेस या भी वन स्टेट टू अनदर स्टेट जहाँ पे स्टेजेस रहते हैं वहां पे आप ट्रांसफर करते हो, उसे स्टेज कैरेज कहते हैं। कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कैरेज कि आप अपने स्पेसिफिक कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के लिए लेते हो, तो उसमें भी अगर आप नॉन एसी बस लेते हो, गवर्नमेंट भी कॉन्ट्रैक्ट के लिए सब बसेस प्रोवाइड करती है, तो अगर वो नॉन एसी प्रोवाइड करेगी तो एग्जेम्पशन मिलेगा, एसी बस प्रोवाइड करेगी तो टैक्सेबल हो जाएगा। रेडियो टैक्सी, रेडियो टैक्सी विल बी टैक्सेबल बोथ एसी एंड नॉन एसी। रेडियो टैक्सी मतलब ऑल दिस कैब्स विल बी टैक्सेबल। टूरिज्म के लिए आप ये कुछ भी यूज करते हो तब भी टैक्सेबल है, बोथ एसी एंड नॉन एसी। कंडक्टेड टूर, फिक्स टूर्स के लिए दैट इज टैक्सेबल। चार्टर और हायर, ठीक है, आप लेते हो एक विद ड्राइवर के लिए आप कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कैरेज लेते हो, देन दैट विल बी टैक्सेबल। देन मीटर्ड कैब्स, ऑटो रिक्शाज एंड ई रिक्शाज, मतलब जो हम ब्लैक कलर कार देखते हैं मुंबई में, दोज आर ऑल मीटर्ड कैब्स। और जब भी आप रेलवे स्टेशन के बाहर भी निकलते हो मीटर्ड कैब्स रहते हैं। ओलाज एंड उबर्स आर रेडियो टैक्सीज, तो वो तो टैक्सेबल है ही है। मीटर्ड कैब्स जो लोकल मीटर के ऊपर चलती है, मीटर्ड कैब्स, ऑटो रिक्शाज एंड ई रिक्शाज, दीज आर एग्जेम्प्टेड, क्योंकि उनका कम ही इनकम होता है, दैट्स व्हाई दीज आर ऑल एग्जेम्प्टेड। सो मीटर्ड कैब्स, ऑटो रिक्शाज एंड ई रिक्शाज आर एग्जेम्प्टेड। कॉन्ट्रैक्ट कैरेज, नॉन एसी इज एग्जेम्प्टेड, एवरीथिंग एल्स इज टैक्सेबल। स्टेज कैरेज के लिए नॉन एसी अगेन इज एग्जेम्प्टेड, एसी इज टैक्सेबल। ये हो गया ट्रांसपोर्टेशन बाई रोड। अभी देखते हैं ट्रांसपोर्टेशन बाई रेल। रेल में मेट्रो, मेट्रो को बढ़ावा देने के लिए उन्होंने कहा कि मेट्रो, मोनोरेल और ट्रैमवे इज एग्जेम्प्ट। मेट्रो क्या होता है? जो मेट्रो लाइंस होती है, that is called metro. Monorails or tramways, these are all exempted. Then normal railways, okay, Indian railways की जो ट्रेन होती है नॉन एसी एग्जेम्प्टेड है, एसी और फर्स्ट क्लास टैक्सेबल है, ठीक है। एयर, रोड और रेल हम अच्छी तरह से समझ गए। नाउ विल अंडरस्टैंड वाटर ट्रांसपोर्ट। वाटर ट्रांसपोर्ट थ्रू वेजल और सी। वेजल विच इज, वेजल मतलब जो शिप रहती है जो सी में चलती है उसे वेजल कहते हैं। दोज वेजल्स इफ इट इज फॉर पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट, लाइक कोस्टल एरियाज में वेजल्स को ही आप नॉर्मल ट्रांसपोर्ट की तरह यूज कर रहे हो एज अ पब्लिक ट्रांसपोर्ट, दैट इज एग्जेम्प्ट। टूरिज्म के लिए आप बोलते हैं ना बड़ा सा शिप रहता है, इफ यू यूज दैट फॉर टूरिज्म पर्पज देन इट इज टैक्सेबल। एंड इफ इट यूज फॉर ट्रांसपोर्टेशन आउटसाइड इंडिया, ओके, शिप यहाँ से शुरू करके श्रीलंका जाएगी या एनी अदर कंट्री जाएगी, देन ट्रांसपोर्टेशन आउटसाइड इंडिया इज टैक्सेबल। ओनली इफ इट इज यूज्ड एज अ public transport, then it is exempted. Okay, tourism and transport outside India will be taxable. Then inland waterways, inland waterways जो internal rivers के अंदर आप transport करते हो वो inland waterways है, ठीक है। inland waterways will be exempt even if it is for tourism और public transport। जैसे बैक वाटर्स पे आपका ट्रांसपोर्टेशन हो गया, केरला में बैक वाटर्स है। इनलैंड वाटरवेज जो रिवर के ऊपर जो शिप या बोट्स रहती है उनका ट्रांसपोर्ट के लिए इनलैंड वाटरवेज कहते हैं। इनलैंड वाटरवेज विल बी एग्जेम्प्टेड, ओके। इनलैंड वाटरवेज आर एग्जेम्प्टेड, इट कुड बी फॉर टूरिज्म पर्पज ऑल्सो आर एग्जेम्प्ट। सब में हमने देखा कि टूरिज्म के लिए टैक्सेबल है, लेकिन इनलैंड वाटरवेज विल बी एग्जेम्प्ट इफ इट इज फॉर टूरिज्म और पब्लिक, बोथ विल बी एग्जेम्प्टेड। Inland waterways is where the charges are less and the time also consumes less, so inland waterways are exempted, ठीक है। So this is of transportation of passengers. Then transportation of goods, transportation of goods you have road, rail, water, air again. तो गुड्स रोड में क्या होगा? कोरियर, रोड में क्या ट्रांसपोर्ट हो सकता है? कोरियर, तो कोरियर और ऑल टैक्सेबल। जीटीए नहीं है, जीटीए इज अ सेपरेट कैटेगरी वेर इन दे गिव अ कंसाइनमेंट नोट एंड टेक योर गुड्स फ्रॉम वन प्लेस टू अनदर, दैट इज अ जीटीए। देन कोरियर, कोरियर इज टैक्सेबल, ठीक है, कोरियर आर ऑलवेज टैक्सेबल। देन जीटीए इज टैक्सेबल अंडर फॉरवर्ड चार्ज और रिवर्स चार्ज। हमने पूरा एक्सटेंसिव एक एक्सरसाइज किया है, बेस्ड ऑन दैट इट विल बी एदर डिसाइडेड रिवर्स चार्ज या फॉरवर्ड चार्ज। अगर वो 5% नहीं 12% चार्ज करता है तो फॉरवर्ड चार्ज, बाकी सब केसेस में रिवर्स चार्ज, ठीक है। उसमें भी एग्जेम्पशन है, दैट आई विल कम बैक टू यू। देन अदर ट्रांसपोर्ट्स जैसे इंडिविजुअल ट्रक्स हो गए हैं, इंडिविजुअल लॉरीज हो गए हैं, कार्ट, बुलक कार्ट, मतलब जो बुलक कार्ट यू नो राइट, कार्ट्स, ऑल ऑफ दैट इज एग्जेम्प्टेड। Now roads में भी क्या exemption हो जाएगा? If the GTA is providing to unregistered person, that is still exempted. Because if they provide to registered person, then forward charge or reverse charge. If they are providing to unregistered person, then it is exempt. Then if a GTA transports a specified goods मतलब random goods. Random का मतलब क्या हो गया? Full form transportation of relief materials or agriculture products or newspapers and magazines, defense or military equipments, organic manure or milk, salt, food grains, flour, pulses, rice. तो इन सबको समझने के लिए शॉर्ट फॉर्म है रैंडम गुड्स. रैंडम गुड्स क्या है? रिलीफ मटेरियल्स, ए फॉर एग्रीकल्चर प्रोड्यूस, एन फॉर न्यूज़पेपर्स एंड मैगजीन, डी फॉर डिफेंस और मिलिट्री इक्विपमेंट्स, ओ फॉर ऑर्गेनिक मैन्योर, not pesticides manure, organic manure, and M for all the milk, salt, food grains, flours, pulses, rice. On these specified goods, then it is exempted, and other goods, freight will be exempted. So random goods के लिए exemption है. Other goods in a GTA, if I transport in one carriage, in single carriage, value of goods up to 1,500, then it is exempted. Or the goods transport agency dumps 2-3 people's goods, and if it is dumping of multiple goods and my value of goods is less than 750, then it is exempted. Then GTA providing to the government entity, local authority, or state government and central government, then it is still exempted. Okay, so this is on GTA services. Then railway transportation of goods is taxable except these random goods and railway equipments and materials. So if railway transports railway equipments and materials, then it is exempted. But if a goods vehicles transport, then it is exempt. It will be taxable because for a road transport, what is exempted? Only random goods. Then water transport, inland waterways, यहाँ पे भी exempt of passengers. यहाँ पर भी transportation of goods is exempt. Inland waterways is exempt. Then vessel could be international transport and coastal transport. First we'll see coastal transport. Coastal transport is taxable except random goods. Vessel है ना बड़ा वाला, that is taxable. Then international transport, India to outside is exempt up to 30th September 20, मतलब अभी तो taxable ही है. And international transport outside to India, which is called as importing service हो गया है. Okay, so ocean freight, this is called as ocean freight. Ocean freight, if it is an Indian shipping company, it will be under forward charge. If it's a foreign shipping company, then it will be under reverse charge. Okay, so if it's an Indian shipping company who is doing this, तो फिर वो forward charge पे पे करेगा. अगर foreign shipping company है just is providing service to a Indian person, then Indian company has to pay under reverse charge. Okay, from outside India, if I'm getting any goods in India, उसके ऊपर जो freight रहेगा, that is under reverse charge and forward charge. So water हो गया. Next air में it will be taxable generally, but if they have said that in air if you transport goods international from outside India to India, it is exempt. From India to outside, then it is exempt up to 30th September. बाद में तो taxable, so अभी it will be taxable, and domestic transportation of goods will be taxable. Clear on this? Practical questions, Ramchandra, I'll be able to discuss in next session because in 5 to 10 minutes, I may not be able to discuss the practical questions. Labor contract to government, it's a pure service. So labor contract is a pure service to government, so it is exempted. Actual means under construction service means new construction. Actual works means new construction. Sir, if airway traveling between Bagdogra and Bangalore, is it exempt? Or the travel between above mentioned only is exempt? No, correct. Your question is right. Bagdogra to Bangalore is also exempted only. So not within these Batman states, but any other states to these states also are exempted. Your example of Bagdogra to Bangalore, yes, it will be exempted. सो दिल्ली से इन 9 स्टेट में बाई एयर जाएंगे तो एग्जाम्प्ट होगा, हाँ एग्जाम्प्ट हो जाएगा। सो रेलवे की नॉन एसी ऑनलाइन टिकट बुक की हमने, उस पे जीएसटी पे किया हमने, नॉन एसी पे। अच्छा, नॉन एसी पे तो नहीं लगना चाहिए बिकॉज नॉन एसी पे जीएसटी नहीं है। जो एयर टिकट की चार्जेस है उसके ऊपर जीएसटी नहीं लगेगा, लेकिन जो कन्वीनियंस फीस लगाते हैं उसके ऊपर जीएसटी लगता है, नॉट ऑन एनीथिंग एल्स। तो मेरे पास भी अभी मैं टिकट खोल के देख रहा हूँ, एक टिकट हमने नॉन एसी का बनाया था, उसके ऊपर जीएसटी जीरो लिखा है। जीएसटी रेट 2.5% है, लेकिन जीएसटी अमाउंट जीरो है बिकॉज वो नॉन एसी था। तो जीएसटी नॉन एसी पे नहीं लगता है। कन्वीनियंस फीस है जो 10 रुपीज है, उसके ऊपर 10 + 1.8 लगाते हैं। कन्वीनियंस फीस तो अलग हो जाता है, वो टिकट चार्जेस पे नहीं आता है, तो कन्वीनियंस फीस पे लगेगा, लेकिन ट्रेन के टिकट पे नहीं लगेगा। नहीं, टिकट पे जीएसटी नहीं है, आप फिर से चेक कीजिए, आई एम वेरी वेरी श्योर। और हमने बुक करके अभी चेक भी किया है। जीएसटी एजेंसी सर्विस पे हो गया, एजेंट का चार्जेस हो गया, उसके ऊपर लगता है। ऑन ऑन द टिकट चार्जेस पे जीएसटी तो नहीं लगता है। या 100% श्योर कि जीएसटी नहीं लगा है। Yeah, so it is a lengthy chapter. When you look backwards, you may get confused. Please go through the slides properly so that you'll understand that more than anything else, because that's the way you could remember. Otherwise, there's no other shortcut option which is available to remember this. There's a very lengthier chapter. That's why they've given 3 classes. So you'll have to understand this and remember this. No other option. Okay. Any other doubts in this till now? Please explain random today. Random again. Okay. What are these random goods? Random goods are relief materials. So if there is some kind of floods or tsunami, anything has happened, and for which relief materials are being transported on that GST, if you're transporting that by railway or through roads, then if you describe that these are all for relief purposes, then GST will not be charged. Agriculture products, on agriculture products transportation, GST will not be charged. The newspapers and magazines, okay, everyday usage, not liable to GST. Defense and military equipments, then organic manure And M stands for all of this milk, salt, food grains, flours, pulses, and rices. On this also, these are all the six category of goods on which GST will not be charged. Okay, so just we have wrapped up. Only if you have any questions, from where we get these handwritten notes, I will upload this on the BOS thing. You can see it on the uploaded material itself. You will get it. It's a part of the presentation, so I will attach it over there itself. Relief material means the materials which you give for relief material, जैसे कपड़े, फूड आइटम्स, पानी वगैरह जगह पे पहुंचाते हैं, that are called as relief materials. Random goods import by water or air, हाँ water or air वहां पे exemption नहीं है. Only in case of a vessel we have seen that it will exempted. Air पे तो taxable रह जाएगा. Water में अगर coastal transport आप यूज करते हो, इंटरनेशनल ट्रांसपोर्ट यूज करते हो तो फिर टैक्सेबल रह जाएगा. इफ यू यूज कोस्टल ट्रांसपोर्ट देन इट विल बी एग्जेम्प्टेड. What is RCS? RCS is Rural Connectivity Scheme. Basically, this is exempted when viability gap funding जो गवर्नमेंट देती है, that will be exempted up to 3 years. रीजनल कनेक्टिविटी स्कीम के लिए जो फंडिंग देती है गवर्नमेंट टू दिस एयरपोर्ट वगैरह, और वायबिलिटी गैप फंडिंग के लिए, एंड और अदर नेम इज RCS scheme, then it will be exempted. Regional connectivity scheme को बढ़ावा देने के लिए government gives some funding that will be exempted for 3 years from the commencement of operation of that airport. Okay, so that is another exemption which we get. Business buses for Mumbai Darshan is taxable. Transportation है और AC buses रहती है, so that will be taxable. So it's a contract carriage and it is for transportation. Tourism के लिए हो गया है, then it will be taxable. Okay. So we'll wait for another 1 minute and we'll wrap this session, too heavy session. And next session is on Thursday. That time we will discuss other few exemptions and we'll wrap up the exemptions chapter. Thank you everyone for the patience learning, and hope you will go through this, because if you don't go through now, you will not get another opportunity to ask questions. If you go through this and if you have questions, please post them so that we could discuss them in the next class on Thursday. Thank you very much. Good night, everyone. On essential goods, if GST is in the wine, water bottles mentioned inclusive of tax, because water is exempt under GST. No, water is not exempt under GST. Water on package form is not exempt. So water preliminary which you get is exempted, but water in this packaged goods like bottles, distillery bottles and other things is taxable. Those are taxable. Water per se is exempted. So when the government supplies water to you for at your home, then that is tax. It is exempted. Packaged water bottles are all taxable. Great. Thank you, Priyanka. If you are saying this was a interactive session. That is what is very much I wanted. Thank you very much.